T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and
yeah, Lord, this for you. I was a mess, little hair on my chest, fresh as a newborn, but I'm headed for death. Some saying I'm blessed, cause I'm still alive. Every day in the hood, I was fighting to survive. So sin I acquired as an adolescent, walking in darkness, spirit facing oppression. You couldn't tell me nothing, swag was on 100, speeding in the fast lane, call me crash dummy. Then I put on the helmet of salvation and received the revelation. Yeah, I could be a leader in this nation, ain't gotta follow the code in the streets and be like them other creeps. See, I could be a leader in this nation.
Hey Jig Nation, it's that time again. Welcome everyone, one and all, to the show. We are your hosts, Rockinmrmagic, Unique DNA, and Mighty TP, and this is the original Jig Podcast. Thanks again, folks, for joining us for another episode. Rockinmrmagic here. I'm flying solo today as the holiday season has things cramped up between Mighty TP and Unique DNA. They're here with me in spirit, though, as we talked about some of the topics before recording this evening. So, I'm flying solo. Short episode. You don't have to hear me drone on and on and on and on, you know. But we're going to jump in right now to the wonderful world of gaming. And we haven't had the chance to rap about the Nintendo Switch yet. So, I'm going to put it out here first and foremost right now. I think the Nintendo Switch is going to be the bomb. I want to know what y'all think, and I can't wait to get Unique DNA and Mighty TP on this, because I am really hyped to know and hear what they feel about the Nintendo Switch, especially because we're not going to hear anything out of Nintendo until 2017, which is, right around the corner. So, I want to know from y'all, what do you expect of the Nintendo Switch? Me personally, I'm looking forward to the fact that I'm going to be able to take this thing anywhere. And anyone that knows me, man, I was in college, I used to take my PS2 in my backpack with me just so I could plug it into the TV in a little lounge area in our cafeteria and game between class. I used to carry my PSP with me to work and game on breaks and lunches, and at one job just game because I felt like it, because I had that type of freedom because I was in sales. So I'm always trying to do something gaming wise. I would sit outside with my Mac and do the PS remote control and play my PS4 on my Mac while I'm just chilling outside. So I'm really hyped for the portability factors with the Switch, and also the fact that a lot of developers are seemingly looking to jump on board and support this new system. So let us know, folks. Comment when we post this. We really want to know what you think about the Switch, what you're looking forward to seeing on the Nintendo Switch, what games do you want on the Switch. I'm personally hoping for a new Animal Crossing. Yes, I'm a grown man, but I love Animal Crossing. I got the first one when I was in college. No, I think I was out of college. I forget when. Got the first one way back when. Love that game. Love all the Animal Crossings. It's fun. It's cute. I'm secure in my manhood. I love Animal Crossing. And the next part is a little late in the discussion part, but I've had Red Dead Redemption on my mind ever since the announcement. Obviously, it got overshadowed in my mind with the Last of Us 2 announcement, but I'm still hyped for the possibilities online with Red Dead Redemption. Is it going to be a GTA 5 like online mode where we can just explore the Wild West and get in random shoot 'em ups and go on side quests and maybe own a ranch and have horses instead of cars that you're collecting, maybe a buggy or two, guns, cowboy outfits. I mean, I can imagine with the GTA world, there's all these spoofs and spoofs or parodies of different objects. Like, you got the Tron whole light cycle race thing going on. I would love to see, some Back to the Future inspired things in a GTA 5 online mode style for Red Dead. I can imagine the whole, Marty McFly outfit that he had on in Back to the Future 3 kind of being like a special, purchased, or hopefully not purchased. I don't want to spend real money. but something that you can buy or unlock within the game. Tons of cowboy movies that you can pull off from all the John Waynes, even though I can't stand John Wayne, but there's tons of John Wayne stuff out there. True Grit, Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, the ugly, even Posse. I'd love to see some Posse stuff in there. If you don't know about Posse, check out my man Mario Van Peebles. He did his thing in Posse. Sally Richardson. Whew. Sally Richardson. No more needs to be said on that. Speaking of movies and film and television, there are two series that I have loved. One of the video game series, and one's just a series, but two film series that are coming to a close that have been going on for years. And that is the Resident Evil series and the Underworld series. Both of these films have a light relation to each other, and that they have strong female protagonists. And we've got Underworld Blood Wars and Resident Evil The Final Chapter. And so you got Alice and Celine embarking on their final, but obviously butt-kicking adventures. And my question to y'all out there, Jig Nation, is: are you going to see either of these films? Are you going to go out there? Are you going to spend the money to go out there and watch these final chapters unfold? I know personally I'm going to. I'm a fan of both these series. Probably Underworld a bit more than the Resident Evil series. I honestly thought the last Resident Evil movie was going to be the last one. Until obviously it seemed like it clearly wasn't going to be the last one. But aside from what you see either film, I want to know. I want you to take your pick. Alice or Celine? Who do you prefer and why? I personally dig Celine. I dig Alice. It's a tough call because both these women throw down. They're both beautiful. They're both intuitive, clever. It's really tough for me. I probably lean a little more towards Celine just because some of the crazy randomness that has happened in the Resident Evil series. And I kind of feel the Resident Evil series has kind of been, I don't know, abused or overused to a certain extent. But I don't know. I want to know what y'all think. Definitely comment Celine versus Alice. Who do you prefer and why? Now, if you recall, previously we had on Tuesdays, our Tuesday recording, we had our Top 10 Tuesday where we talked about our top 10 television theme songs. If you remember, that list had Cheers, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Golden Girls, The Jeffersons, Knight Rider, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Sesame Street, The Simpsons, and Star Trek. We had a 10th one, but we had to take that off because it was Barney. And coincidentally, that what we thought was the theme song is actually not the theme song. So we still are missing number 10 on that. And we want to hear from y'all. We want to know what you think should round out our list for the top 10 television theme songs. But today, this Tuesday, we're talking about top 10 NBA champions. Teams that have won the NBA championship, the top 10 in NBA history. I can't wait to go over this list with the fellas because I know Monty TP is going to throw his Lakers in there. And, poor Unique DNA, as an Orlando Magic fan, he's not going to have a team to talk about. That's a homer pick, but we're going to have a nice heated debate over this. But I'm going to drop to you my top 10. And I want to know what y'all think because I actually put a lot of thought into this. And I considered not only just the championship caliber of that team during the time that it played and won, but also what I think that team could translate into playing in an area before and after it. And considering the rule changes, the talent level of the team, as well as one very overlooked part when we have these, what-if debates type is coaching. The coaching of the team is so important. So this Tuesday top 10 NBA champion list, from me, Rockin' Mr. Magic looks like this. And again, actually not again, but period, this is not in any type of order. This is just my top 10. So number 1 doesn't mean the number 1 overall best team in NBA history. So my number 1, not just a homer pick, but also a homer pick, the 1988-89 Detroit Pistons. Number 2, the 2003-2004 Detroit Pistons. Number 3, the 95-96 Chicago Bulls. Duh, they're going to be on the list. Number 4, the 84-85 Los Angeles Lakers. Number 5, the 82-83 Philadelphia 76ers. Number 6, the 85-86 Boston Celtics, which many former players will say and attest that they consider that 80-16 to be the best ever. Number 7, the 2011-2012 Miami Heat. Number 8, the 2014-2015 Golden State Warriors. Number 9, the 1969-1970 New York Knicks. Number 10, the 99-2000 Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I know I left some teams off there completely. Some franchises didn't even get a mention. So Houston Rockets fans, sorry. San Antonio Spurs fans, sorry. The one championship from the Seattle Supersonics, sorry. Hey, this is my personal opinion, and I will quickly quantify some of my personal opinion on this. Starting with the 89 Bad Boy Pistons. This was a team that went from being a super high scoring team to not only be able to score, but defend to the highest degree. And yes, they beat you up doing it. But that was in the rules. So if you don't like the fact that the Pistons did what they did and that they may have grayed the line a little bit at times and they beat people up, too bad. Suck it. Suck it up. You just have to deal with it. Where's Montgomery Scott when I need it? He will look at you and say, "Up your shaft." All right, that's what it is. That's what it was. And you know what? They won, and I'm still a little salty over the 87-88 because we got screwed. Kareem was not fouled by Lambeer. All right, look it up. He wasn't a foul. But the 88-89 Pistons, you have, in my opinion, the best backcourt in NBA history in Isaiah and Joe Dumars. You have a young, spry, energetic, Energizer Bunny type coming off the bench in Dennis Rodman. You have a small forward who, I wasn't a fan of his exactly, who was the number 1 pick in his draft and a very talented player, and Mark Aguirre. You also had Bill Lambeer, who was just full of passion and drive and determination to win. And you had Rick Mahorn, who was extremely undervalued as a player, teammate, and a defender. But you ask anybody that played with or against Mahorn, and they will rave about the value he had to their teams and the impact he had, especially in Detroit. Philadelphia, when he and Barkley were known as Bump and Jump. I even remember seeing Shaquille O'Neal talk about how he hated being defended by Mahorn because Mahorn would do his patented pull the chair and move on him. Rick Mahorn was definitely a undervalued force to be reckoned with. And then you had all other people on that bench. You had John Sally, who, again, not a fantastic standout player, but John Sally was fantastic off the bench. 7-footer, near 7-footer, that could run the floor like a guard, play solid, excellent defense. James Edwards, my man Buddha, had that fadeaway for a 7-footer that you could not stop. Great offensively, undervalued defensively. And then you had probably my favorite player off the bench aside from Dennis Rodman. It was my man Vinnie Johnson, who just to me had the best nickname on a team was full of great nicknames. It was my main man, the microwave, Vinnie Johnson. I mean, an amazing scorer, gave the guys, the thick boys, hope that they could make it to the league, because he was pretty stout, had that beautiful clearly one-handed jumper, and Piston fans remember that jumper he hit in Portland to seal the finals, winning the back-to-back championships in Detroit. The '89 Pistons had a full bench, great starters, and were coached by the one and only Chuck Daly. May he rest in peace, Daddy Rich. Excellent coach. And anyone that doubts Chuck Daly's credentials seriously needs to educate themselves on basketball, because it wasn't Phil Jackson who coached that dream team. Yeah, it was Chuck Daly who coached that dream team. So educate yourself on Chuck Daly. The 2003-2004 Pistons, very similar to the Bad Boys in that they were a team first team, no superstars, doing their thing, built on hard defense. With Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, excellent starters, and a very, very potent but unsung heroes on the bench. Memo Kerr, who went on to Utah following that and had a decent career before injury. Corliss Williamson, very underrated on the bench. Mike James was huge off the bench for us. Lindsey Hunter defensively. Alden Campbell providing great defense in his twilight years of his career. Just a fantastic squad. Excited for Darko, of course, and I do wish, and as much as I love Joe Dumars and respect him, God, I wish he would have drafted Darko, because a Chris Bosh on that team, in my opinion, would have been the best pick. But yeah, that's another topic for another time. Next is the 95-96 Bulls. I mean, come on, what more needs to be said about the 95-96 Bulls? 72-10 championship. None more needs to be said about that team. The 84-85 Lakers. Magic, Kareem, Worthy. Those three alone. Byron Scott, Michael Cooper. I believe Michael Thompson on the bench at that time. Kurt Rambis, just a up and down through that team. Destined to shake free of the ghosts of Celtic past that continued to hound them. Just a fantastic championship squad, and Kareem just anchored them, and he and Magic just were magnificent in that championship run. The 82-83 Sixers, this was wow. This team, most people don't think about them because a lot of people don't realize that the Sixers won in the 80s. But, you had Bo Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Dr. J, Moses Malone. And when they got Moses, that was it. Moses was that missing piece, and they trampled through the playoffs. I mean, Mo said, well, we need to go faux. They didn't exactly go faux. They didn't sweep everybody, but they almost did. And they just trampled everybody in their path to Philadelphia's most recent championship. After that, we've got the 85-86 Celtics, which four of the starters are Hall of Famers. You got Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, of course, the enigmatic Larry Bird. Happy 60th birthday, Larry Legend, by the way. Happy belated birthday. And yeah, Danny Ainge was on that team too. He was an all right player, just a really good shooter. And you had another Hall of Famer on the bench. Not that I like the guy, I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer in Bill Walton. I had a tough one with this Celtics team because I thought I could add more Celtics teams to this list, but the Celtics won a whole bunch of championships back in the 60s where there just weren't that many teams, and they were just so dominant, with Cousy and Russell and Havlicek and Heineken and, all those players that they had, and Joe English, and they had so many players. So I couldn't add some of those older teams on there as dominant as they were, just because, the competition was different. The format was different. The playoffs were different. I don't think that those teams, as great and as dominant as they were, would have translated that same level of dominance during what's considered the golden era of the NBA, in the 80s. I think the nature of the game, the mixing of the finesse post the ABA, infusion and the still tough and physical nature of the NBA, I don't think that part would have translated well with those Bill Russell-led teams and Cousy teams. So it was another tough one because I believe that the Celtics, I want to say the 1980-81 Celtics, that was a tough one because they had Tiny Archibald on that team, as well, of course, Larry Legend. So that was another tough one that I had to debate over. But I think the 85-86 team trumps that 80-81 team. Then we got the 11-12 Miami Heat. This is probably going to be a little bit debated, but I honestly think that Miami team would fare well against those in the past, mainly because of the leadership through Riley into Coach Spoelstra. I think Coach Spoelstra is a very underrated coach, and when you have the talent on that team between LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh, especially that 11-12 year where Bosh had not been cycled out of the offense as much, I really think that team was excellent. Just very tough to beat, top to bottom. LeBron was playing at peak confidence. D. Wade was, pre-nagging injury starting to really weigh him down, just performing at a very high level, as well as Bosh. Just a very, very, very talented team. I just don't see how anybody, nobody's going to roll this team over there. If you beat them, you're going to have to beat them, in a very tough 7-game series. They were a different team when they got smashed by the Spurs a couple of years later. But this team, this 11-12 team, very, very good team. Then we got the 14-15 Golden State Warriors. Again, this is going to be highly contested. I will tell you that in the 80s, this team just would have had a really tough time. Their size would have been a detriment against them because teams in the 80s where they may not have been as quote-unquote athletic, they were a bit bigger. It was a big man's game back then. And the rules, again, depending upon what rules you're playing with, it's going to be, it's going to be different. The Pistons, obviously, in today's rules would not be allowed to be nearly as physical. However, people forget how athletic they were. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars. But people forget, Joe Dumars was the best on-the-ball defender against Michael Jordan. So I'm not really worried about him guarding Steph or Clay. As great as shooters they are fantastic. That those... I don't know how it directly went into them playing against the Pistons, but the Pistons are known as the peak defensively in the 80s, so I just naturally gravitate to them. And of course, yes, they're my homer pick. But the Warriors, despite the rule differences and being generally smaller because of the way the game is right now, they would be a formidable foe against obviously current and past opponents. Of course, if they win the championship this year with Kevin Durant, I might have to revamp this list. But for right now, the 14-15 Golden State Warriors are on this list for me. Obviously, between Steph and Clay and Draymond, who being just a great not unsung hero, but overachieving player. Iguodala's defense and clutch performances, great performances off the bench. Especially Sean Livingston, being a fantastic redemption story from injury there. Just a team that I think definitely will go down as one of the best of all time. And then we've got the 1969-1970 New York Knicks. One of the greatest backcourts in history. You're looking at Walt, Clyde Frazier, Earl of Pearl Monroe, anchored by Willis Reed, Senator Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere. Just a really deep team. And my memory serves me correctly, the Zen Master Zen Master Phil Jackson was on the bench of that 1969-70 championship squad. But don't quote me on that. I have to double check my facts on that. But just a really, really great squad that 69-70 team was. Anybody that was around that time watching those Knicks, it was their time, it was their destiny to finally get over the hump and bring the championship to New York, the Mecca of basketball. But this team was fantastic. So fantastic, in fact, that I keep saying the wrong year because I'm actually referring to the 1972-1973 team and not the 69-70 championship team. So, again, my bad. But the key principles, again, Willis Reed, Earl of Pearl Monroe, Senator Bill Bradley, Dave DeBuscher, Clyde Frazier, and yes, Phil Jackson was on that squad. Just a fantastic team that overcame the Los Angeles Lakers, featuring the legendary logo Jerry West and the Big Dipper Wilt Chamberlain. And then to supplant this list, we've got the 99-2000 Los Angeles Lakers. Shaq and Kobe, man. Shaq and Kobe. I mean, for all the beef, for all the what ifs, they had 3 titles, and the first one was one of their best. The team was deeper than most people realize. Again, Phil Jackson's at the helm of this Lakers squad. But aside from Shaq and Kobe, it's just not surprising that this team won. With the fact that they played a Pacer team that was good, but most people felt that they got there simply because Michael was gone. They didn't make it 99 during the lockout year, but 2000, they were just 2 years removed from the Pacers' 7-game Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls in '98. So it made sense that the Pacers would advance to the championship. The problem was they ran into a team that had a ton of talent and a ton of experience on top of that talent. Because not only do you have, like I said, Shaq and Kobe at the top of the order, you've got Robert Horry, who had 2 championships already in his belt. You had Ron Harper coming off of the Chicago second three-peat on that squad. You had Glenn Rice, who people forget was a major player, previous All-Star, one of the best shooters of that generation on that squad. You also had John Sally on the bench. He didn't play much, but again, this guy was a 2-time champion in Detroit, a champion with the Bulls on that record-breaking '96 team. And then you also had AC Green on the Lakers again, his second stint with the Lakers after being part of the Showtime Lakers. So you had a lot of championship experience on this team. Even a underutilized, actually maybe not underutilized, but underappreciated Brian Shaw also on that team. And Brian Shaw was an excellent role player. He had a great chemistry with Shaq playing together, in Orlando, and he's been he's developed into a coach as well. He's just a very, very good player. Definitely not one to be undervalued or underestimated there. And if my memory serves me correct, Brian Shaw also won a championship, I think, as a member of the Boston Celtics, if my memory serves me correct. Maybe not. I don't remember. I know he played for the Celtics. I know they drafted him, but anyway, he won. He won the championship with the Lakers, that year and all the other 2 following years as well. Again, a very, very good player, very good shooter, with a lot of experience and great chemistry with those other players and veterans on that Lakers squad. The depth of the players on that squad, coached by the great Phil Jackson, should not be overlooked. That bench contributed a lot to that championship win, especially overcoming that deficit they had in Game 7 against the Portland Trailblazers. That should not be overlooked. Yes, they kind of coasted through the finals against the Pacers. I believe the Pacers only won. The Pacers won 2 games. So it was a 6-game series. But anybody watching the series, it wasn't that competitive. Like they lost a couple games, but it never felt like the Lakers were in jeopardy of losing the championship. It definitely seemed like it was inevitable. So that squad, if I compare that squad to the past and the future of it, with today's rules, Shaq would just still dominate. Kobe would still dominate. In the past, even with the physical nature of the game, Kobe just being a killer and Shaq just being a massive, just a massive human being. That squad against others, Glenn Rice being the scorer and shooter he was, Ron Harper, A.C. Green, even at their older ages at that time and playing supporting roles, just very pivotal. They knew how to win, and they were able to make it happen there. So that concludes this week's top 10 list, top 10 NBA champions. The next list we're gonna have, as a heads up, is gonna be for Christmas time here. We're gonna be talking about our top 10 Christmas movies. That's right, Christmas movies. I'm so hyped to talk about this because I love Christmas time. It's my favorite time of the year. Pretty much, starting from Thanksgiving and ending New Year's. That's just my favorite span of the year. So I'm super hyped to talk about the top 10 Christmas movies. I hope you all are too. Thanks again for listening to the Original Jig podcast. Again, we are your host, Rockinmrmagic, Unique DNA, and Monty TP. This is Rockinmrmagic. We're flying solo tonight, but just want to thank y'all and continue for listening. We appreciate your support. This episode of the Original Jig podcast is brought to you by Single and Anxious, the new YouTube web series. Single and Anxious follows 5 African-American college students from various backgrounds as they fumble their way through the challenges of establishing and maintaining romantic relationships. Check it out on YouTube. Again, it's Single and Anxious. You can find information just at www.singleandanxious.com. So, folks, that wraps up this program for today. Again, thank you for the support. We love you. And until the next time, peace.